Welcome to This Organized Life. If you're a mom, wife, or coffee lover seeking advice on how to reduce clutter and reclaim time, look no further than your host, Lori Palau, founder of Simply Be Organized and author of Hot Mess, a practical guide to getting organized. For a lot of people, clutter is their dirty little secret, but it doesn't have to be. Each week, we will share practical tips, chat with experts, and provide strategies on how to keep you organized. I hope that by sharing our stories, you feel a little less alone and more empowered to tackle the areas that are holding you back. So let's get started.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of This Organized Life podcast. I am your host, Lori Palau, and crazy time, people. We are into November. The holidays are nipping at our heels. I always say that time between Halloween to Christmas is like this crazy sprint for so many of us. And we're just kind of going through the motions. And I'm so glad that you decided to come up for air and listen to us. I'm with you through this crazy season and trying to come up with some really great topics that are going to be very, very relevant for you in this particular season of your life. And I really think you're going to enjoy today's conversation. So joining me is Jessica Velazquez, and she's an interior designer. And through her design services, she helps clients really eradicate that buyer's remorse by helping them put together plans that aligns with both vision and budget. And again, that's always the sweet spot, because I think everybody in a perfect world, just like everyone would love to have a professional organizer and a personal chef and a personal shopper and a personal trainer. Who wouldn't love to have an interior designer sitting there going, what should I do? Because there's so much decision fatigue. And as somebody who's one of my closest friends is an interior designer, I know the benefits of having somebody that I can lean on to ask these questions to. But not everybody has that. And so hopefully today, Jessica is going to be here to answer some questions and give you some tips and strategies. Because we all know, as we are approaching this time of year, when we start going to stores or clicking, buy now or add to cart, we are oftentimes buying these things that are like things that we like, but might not be the right thing for us. And then we're like, crap, why did I buy that? So hopefully we're going to dispel all of these things. She also has this design school for homeowners, which empowers people to take action and find their intentions and beat decor fatigue. So we're going to also talk about that, because I think that's super fascinating. But again, my whole goal here is to help incorporate that design element with the function of organization in your life. And I believe that you can have both. And so without further ado, let me welcome my friend Jessica to the show. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you, Lori. Thanks for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. And as I said to you before we hit record, this is always a topic. Anytime we have anything relating to design or interiors, we always get a ton of downloads. People are sharing it with their friends and listening. It is just really a hot topic, because we all want to have this space that is inspiring. It makes us feel good when we walk in. And so I'm really excited for this conversation. But before we get into it, tell our listeners a little bit about you, who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm several things. I'm a mother of 5, wife, Panamanian, interior designer, entrepreneur, and lover of all things that really resonate with your lifestyle and stay on budget. You mentioned the sweet spot. That is a sweet spot when things go according to your lifestyle, in your budget, in your timeline, and creates an inspiring home. So I'm an advocate for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, first of all, mother of 5, kudos to you. What are the ranges of your kids?
Oh, well, oldest is 29, youngest is 19.
Okay. So
yeah.
You've weathered that storm, but
I did.
hopefully it's a fun season now, right?
You know what? I feel teenagers get a bad rep. It was a good season too. I mean, with its ups and downs, but it was a good season.
Sure. Well, I always, and I also said this in the introduction, but I kind of want to position it to you. I've felt from the start that design and organization go hand in hand. There's so
Absolutely.
much overlap. And side story, I actually got my start with my friend who's an interior designer, where she had asked me, I was like an executive recruiter at the time who was just like organizing in my own life for fun. And she asked me to come on a consult with her because she had a couple of clients who were hiring her to do some design work, but she's like, they really have clutter issues. And she's like, I don't really dabble in that. And so that was kind of how I was coming in there as a consultant to offer that perspective of how they could kind of get on board. And so from that point on, I always saw like the parallels between the two and almost how it can overlap. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts, experience, insight is with regard to the sisterhood between organization and design.
You could not have asked a better question. They are sisters, and I feel the oldest one is organization. She leads. There is no way that wallpaper, furniture, lamps, pillows can fix the organization issue. If a house is not organized and decluttered, it will be a lot harder to make it an inspiring home, regardless of how much we pay, of how much we invest, or what we buy, or what style we choose. So it needs to be organized. And that's why I am such an advocate for things that go with your lifestyle, because it starts there. So many times I go into a client's house and the first thing they say, look, my home is not inspiring. I come here and it's not doing it for me. And all I see are shoes, everywhere, and bags and boxes and unopened boxes of books, and they are drowning in clutter. And sometimes it's not clutter. Sometimes it's lack of organization, because that's,
Sure.
there's different levels too.
Sure.
But
sure.
then they're trying to do, things like put a photo on their walls and, I bought these pillows, but the focus needs to go first to those things that will keep it organized. And then let's make it pretty, but we need to organize it first.
I love that. And I oftentimes think that sometimes designers get a bad rap because there's obviously a function on the aesthetic, right?
Yes.
The what, like you said, wallpapers, rugs, all of the things that really bring out the personal style. But often we want to have that delicate dance, that balance, if you will, of the style without necessarily neglecting the function. And
Yes.
and that's the thing, is where oftentimes I've seen people, and again, I don't want to pigeonhole, but it's like, oh, I hired a designer to help me with my living room, and I have 4 kids at home, but the kids live, are hanging out in there, and there's nowhere for the kids' toys. So
Yeah.
again, when you're looking at a mood board, or you're looking at a Pinterest picture, or you're looking at some sort of image, it's a snapshot in time. And then you're not factoring in, like, you're like, oh yes, that looks beautiful for a minute, but then
Yeah.
you incorporate life, and then that's where things go off the rails, and people wind up becoming disappointed, and they start feeling like a failure.
Yeah, it's the lack of lifestyle. If I always say style follows lifestyle, not the other way around. I feel that we are struggling to adapt our lifestyle to a particular style, when it should be all the other way around. The lifestyle is first. Then we add all the things that we love and like, but we need to address the lifestyle first and foremost. And that's why, as interior designers, we spend a lot of time getting into our clients' heads and finding out how they live in that room. I can give you a beautiful mood board or a shopping list, but if it's not going to fulfill the needs, your day-to-day life needs, it's not going to work again. It's not
Yeah.
going to work. You're going to feel frustrated. Oh, why did I buy this? Why did I buy that? It's not working. So we really need to spend a lot of time becoming self-aware of how we use our home, how we use our living room, our bedroom, our kitchen. We don't cook the same. None of us do. We don't watch TV the same. Some people watch TV from their kitchen. Some people like watching TV when they're eating. Some people do not watch TV in the living room. They go up to a family room. Some people love watching TV in their bedrooms. So just like that, just that little simple example will determine how we put the furniture, what we bring in. Do you have guests? I mean, I could go on, but it's lifestyle first, style after.
I love that. And that brings me to, and we have a similar approach when it comes to the organizing, and you can make the argument of, somebody that switches out all of their hangers, or someone that decants all of their, their cereal and their, stuff into, clear containers. And you look at that and you're like, that's beautiful. And I always say, think about the practicality is, are you going to come in from the grocery store and take all of your pasta and take it out of the box and move it in? And there's no right or wrong answer, but that's the level. If you're doing that, if you say, I want this, and this kind of leads into my next question, which is the good, the bad, the ugly with social media.
Oh boy.
And or Pinterest. And again, we're not here to shame, blame, whatever, but there's all of these, visuals that we are seeing. And then we're like, ooh, I should be doing this, or this is what, and this is what a space that's designed and polished, or I want to have a farmhouse, whatever, modern farmhouse, and this is what it's supposed to be like. So, again, going back to what you said about the lifestyle, what is your lifestyle? Is this going to be something that's sustainable, or is this just going to wind up becoming clutter in your house?
Yeah. And before we talk about answer your question with social media, I do have a client who they were renovating their bathroom, and beautiful tiles, countertops, you name it, right? And she wanted to bring her dirty clothes hamper out of the bathroom and put it in the closet because it didn't look good. And I asked her, but where, do you actually get undressed here where you're going to put the hamper? And then are you going to bring the clothes? Well, no, it's more comfortable if I just get all my clothes in the bathroom and put in the hamper. You will then plan for that. Design a cabinet. If you don't want to see the hamper, then maybe design a cabinet that has a space for the hamper. But if you end up putting it over there because it looks good, trust me, you're going to bring it back over here and it's still not going to look good. So plan for that. So anyways, it's just a kind of a very small and simple example of how lifestyle should be the leading and then style coming after.
Yeah. And again, I know I already asked the Instagram question, but I put a pin in that. How do you get somebody to articulate? Because I think that you bring up a really good point. I think a lot of times people see something and it elicits a feeling in them, right? And I think back to the days, of course, I'm dating myself, but back to the days when I used to flip through magazines, right? I would flip through House Beautiful and Country Living and, whatever it is, Architectural Digest, and go through all of them and tear sheet, the different spaces that this is what I want. And we're drawn, each of us uniquely are drawn to a particular type of an aesthetic, whatever that is, right? But we oftentimes don't always have the language to articulate kind of what our style is. How do you draw out that in your clients?
Very good. Let's eliminate the language first. Let's eliminate the word organic, farmhouse, eclectic, transitional. Let's eliminate that from our vocabulary and let's be visuals. You want to identify what I call your UDC, your unique design code. Then use things like magazines, website photos. Pinterest is an excellent tool. Pinterest is like my virtual assistant. A client tells me I'm minimalistic, and I go, okay, let's pin 20 photos of living rooms, dining rooms, bedrooms, you name it, that you love. Don't pin the couch. Don't pin the table. I want to see the room as a whole and then show it to me. When I
Oh,
see,
I like that. See,
yeah,
right
when
there.
I
That's it,
see,
people. That's gold. Don't do the item. Look big picture.
yes, because it is the photo of the environment that is going to tell you what resonates with you. If you just do the table, you're still not seeing the whole environment. The table doesn't make your room. The couch doesn't make your room. It is the combination of everything together. That's what makes a room. So when you start seeing those photos, trust me, it is eye-opening. You go like, oh, I see what really resonates with me. I see what's calling my name. I see that it has a lot of plants, or it's lacking pattern, or it's very monochromatic, or it has a lot of blue. I thought I liked red. Anyways, I could go on and on. It
No, I like
really
that.
brings up those things that you start identifying what you really like without the influence of social media or other people telling you it doesn't look good. It is what you know, again, whether you use magazines, websites, your own photos, Pinterest, but bring that to the forefront and say, okay, this is what resonates with me.
I love it. Can you just repeat again? Because I was trying to, for anybody watching on YouTube, I always try to take notes. So your UDC, what can you just say what that acronym
It
stands
is
for?
it is your unique design code.
Code. That's what it is. Okay.
Mhm.
Unique design code. I love it.
Which comprises things like colors, patterns, amount of artwork on your walls, the way you hang them. Some people like them very symmetrical. Some people like them asymmetrical. You know, your rugs are the rugs that you're liking geometrical, botanical, abstract. I could, you know, like there's so many different things that comprise that unique design code that we all have.
Yeah.
That should not be influenced by social media.
Okay, so now let's talk about that. So okay, here we go. Sorry, Instagram, you're probably about to get a little bit of a,
Uh-oh.
no. I'm just wondering because again, we see this in the organizing space, and this is even going back before. Like I remember, there's so much shame and so much like feeling like people don't measure up in life when it comes to organization, and it could be their personal style, it could be their home, and it's that like, comparison is the thief of joy, right? But you're like looking at what somebody else has thinking I should have this, or I'm not measuring up because of this. And I think that there's great things that can come from looking at people's inspiration, but it can also have a negative effect. And I'm just wondering if you can maybe just speak into that a little bit.
There are some cons. Sometimes I see other people doing what they love, and that's inspiring. Like I follow this girl from England, and she's a maximalist, and she does colors, bold colors, bold patterns, and she loves it. And I love seeing that not everyone is the same. So it's inspiring. On the other hand, if it becomes a comparison trap, then that is when you're letting the influencer dictate the style of your home. And that's when we start thinking, oh, my home should look like that. Sorry, let's erase that. The disadvantage to that is that we start maybe overspending, following the sales, following, codes, promotions, things like that, that is then dictating what I'm going to buy next. So let's remember this. The first purchase that we do will become the constraint for the next one. If I buy the couch first, then I'm going to buy, let's say, accent chairs or area rugs. I need to buy an area rug that matches the couch. And then I need to buy accent chairs that matches the rug that matches the couch. So when we're doing all these things, following all these promotions, all these trends, instead of having a complete vision, we are allowing ourselves to let social media be the one who's styling our homes, which for some people may be great. But if that is not our lifestyle, that is not our budget, then we have a problem.
I love what you just said. And of course, I tie everything back to organizing because that's just where my brain is, and that's where my world is. But all I kept thinking of is when you were just describing that was the person that goes to the store and sees a bin or, you know, like a bin or a basket or whatever. And they're like, I'm going to buy this product to solve my problem, but they haven't really, you know, they haven't really kind of addressed the root of it. So they're like putting a Band-Aid on it. It's like a little bit of a lipstick in a pig. So like, let me buy the pillows, let me do this. And they're kind of piecemealing it together without a real plan in motion, which winds up resulting in what I have found, at least in my world, and I don't know if you see this, it results in money probably not being as wisely spent as they would, even if it's like, oh, I got this on sale, or oh, this wasn't. It's like all those death by a thousand cuts, like it adds up. So now you spend a lot of little purchases, which add up. And then you have stuff that may or may not work, right? Artwork that may or may not work, throw pillows that may or may not work. And then it's that you wind up falling into that kind of, you know, I call it decision fatigue. And then you talk about design fatigue.
I do. I was just going to say that. What you described is design fatigue. People that, you know, with all the good intentions, because let's face it, it's all based on good intentions.
100%.
You know, they start buying things that at the end, they don't match with what you have. Okay, they can match beautifully in the showroom, but they don't match, they don't go with what you have. They don't look like the way it looks at the store or at the photo from Instagram. It doesn't fit. And then you overspend. And then when you repeat that again and again, it becomes design fatigue, that it then lowers your self-esteem, because you feel like, see, I'm not good at this. I knew it was not going to work. I should have hired somebody. And that takes us to the unfinished home. It's a cycle. And then that unfinished home stays like that for months until we say like, oh, I have to do something. And then it repeats itself. I'm going to buy the pillows, and then it doesn't work. And then I knew I wasn't good at it. And it's a cycle that we need to break.
All right. Well, this is a perfect time. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to talk about how do we avoid that unfinished home and what are some like specific steps. And I know you're going to be able to walk us through that. So sit tight. We'll be right back. All right, Jessica. So I am sure that people are listening or watching and nodding their head, being like, yes, this is me. I have done this. Talk about that again, that unfinished room or that unfinished home, because I think most of us can relate to that of like, I started this and then I kind of ran out of steam, ran out of money, ran out of ideas, whatever. And it just kind of stays in that limbo, and you're just not, you're left feeling underwhelmed.
Yeah, absolutely. You feel like you overspent and underdeliver.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. So let me say something also. I don't want anyone to feel that a finished home is perfect. It's not. For a home to be inspiring, it does not have to be perfect. And I want to say that again. For a home to be inspiring, it does not have to be perfect. My home is not perfect. I also deal with things that need to be changed. And I sit down and I'm like, oh, I wish I could change this or that. But my home inspires me. Maybe not everyone, but inspires me because I have things, I surround myself with things that I love, that bring back good memories, that takes me back to moments that I have, you know, that brought me joy. So my home is inspiring to me. So let's say that from the get-go, because I don't want anyone feel like that they need to have a perfect home. They need to spend an X amount of dollar or find, you know, the perfect style for them to have an inspiring home.
I love that. And I feverishly wrote that down because I think that's so relevant, because there's this striving for, whether it's in the organizing space or the design space, this striving for often the unattainable, right? Often it's like you're reaching for this finish line that it's like, again, if you reframe it to what's going to inspire me. And for some people that might be color and texture, and somebody else, it might be neutral.
Plants.
And I was just going to say, I have this back porch that it was done over COVID. It wasn't intentional. It just happened. And it was like the best, obviously, thing that happened because it gave us additional living space outdoors. And I have all of these plants, and it's almost like I'm sitting in a tree house. And I love, and whenever anyone comes over, they're like, I love it. And it's so warm and inviting. And it's not anything really fancy. It's just this natural space. And I look at something that I don't have a lot of natural plants in my home, in my inside home, but on the back porch we do. And I walk out there and it gives me this different feeling. It's a different vibe.
Yeah.
And it's really about those. I would never have been able to necessarily sit down and say, I think I want to put a lot of plants. Like it just, I don't even know if I'm making sense, but it was just something that really gave me this inspiration that I wasn't able to just,
verbalize.
Yes.
Huh. Interesting. So maybe part of your unique design code is adding plants. Perhaps.
Yes.
Perhaps. So, back to the unfinished home.
Yeah, please.
There are things that we can definitely do. In my philosophy, the way I approach it is with planning. So if we don't plan the whole vision, the end result from the beginning, what we're doing is we're being how do you say that? You're not on the offense, you're on the defense. You're just kind of buying things.
You're being in a reactive thing. You're being reactive in the way
that is the word. I was thinking football, but yes, you're being reactive, and I want everyone to be actively and intentionally planning instead of reacting to sales or trends or Black Fridays. If you are actively and intentionally planning your home, that is going to give you the sense of direction that you need. I know that for some people say, well, I don't know how to plan. I don't know how to envision. There are things that we can do, but when we have that final vision, that end result, then we know the path. It's like going on a trip and packing, but you don't know where you're going, how long you're staying for, how much money you need, what hotel, what activities. You have no idea, and here you have to pack. And you're like, what? Am I going to Greenland or am I going to Dominican Republic? Like, right? So, but when we have that plan, you're able to make more or wiser decisions. So it is the same thing. Think about your home as a destination, and then plan accordingly. If you know that you're going towards a living room that is going to have, this blue couch and these area rug and these curtains, then you're not buying because, things look good and they're on sale. You're buying because it goes according to your vision. And before somebody says, well, what if I want to change the vision? That is okay, because it will give you direction. Even if you want to buy things at Craigslist or from Facebook Market, you know that it's going according to your vision. You know that it fits. You know that you had planned for an X amount of dollars. Let's just say $3,000 to refresh your dining living room. And then because you have this budget, you will buy according to that. What also happens is that if we don't follow that budget, we buy things that eventually takes us out of budget. And now you don't have money to buy the rest of the things that you also needed. So planning your budget, planning your vision, planning your timeline, it's all about that, all about the planning. And then we can tackle that unfinished home.
I love it. Okay, so I'm going to ask another question, and it may not apply to everybody, but I'm just thinking, is there a way to approach it? Like, start with your bigger items first. For example, like, let's say you're redoing a living room, and every space can be different. Let's say you're redoing a living room and you're, redoing the whole space. Are you like, start with the couch, like make that your anchor, and then from there go into rugs, and there you go into like window treatments? Like, do you have, almost for lack of a better word, a checklist of this is the way to approach your budget, and then like whatever's left over goes for accessories or whatnot? Like, I guess I'm just trying to think of where does,
Great
I don't want someone
question.
to, I don't want someone to spend like $500 because we all know stuff adds up quickly on all these little accessories. And then when it comes to buying the big anchor thing, they're either going over budget or they run into problems.
Great question. First thing, out of the get-go, have a budget. That's the first thing you want to have. What is your ideal budget? Once you have that, then go window shopping. Don't start buying, okay? Get an idea of how much things cost, because then you can adapt that budget. Then you'll realize, oh, I can't do this, or great, I can, or maybe I have to downgrade some of my options. But start with a budget, a realistic idea of how much things cost. Then tackle the bigger items first. I would say tackle what you need first, because if you're furnishing a home and you start buying an area rug, but you don't have a couch, we have a problem. So let's, right? So let's buy the bigger items first, the ones that are most prominent in the room, the ones that when you come in are going to become the focal point. So that could be the couch, the headboard, your bed, the dining set. Those are usually the main pieces and most prominent in the room as well. Then add things in layers. The question might be, okay, I know what the most prominent furniture piece is, but what about the next one? Is it the curtain or the area rugs or the pillows? What is it, right? So my solution to that is to get an inspiration piece first, because the inspiration piece is going to catapult your inner designer. It's going to help you identify the direction. Because if, for example, I find an area rug that I love, that hopefully, if you're planning it correctly, goes with the couch that you are going to buy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you see it coming together, and then you'll know, okay, I'm going to add the other layers, which could be the accent chair or the pillows or the curtains, but it could also be the other way around. You can find this beautiful, amazing throw pillow, throw cushion, and you go like, that's my inspiration point. I'm going to start here, and I'm going to take some of the colors from there and buy the area rug or buy the curtains or an accent chair that goes with that. A pillow is very insignificant when you look at the budget and the mood board, but it could be what inspires you. So after buying the prominent things, find that inspiration.
I love it. I just think that roadmap is really helpful because the process is both exciting, but it can also be extremely overwhelming. And like I said, I had the good fortune that one of my dearest friends is a designer. So I always run things by her whenever I do anything, whether it's a pink color on my wall or whatever. I always kind of get her stamp of approval. But for somebody that doesn't have a Danielle or a Jessica, a lot of times you're just trying to figure it all out.
Oh, yes.
So I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about, I'd love to learn a little bit more about your design school, because I think that that's going to be really interesting. So can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, I'd love to. So it started with a course that I called Pin to Reality, Pinterest to Reality. So pins to reality, because I found that a lot of people were Pinterest board full, but bare walls. They had this full Pinterest boards and all of these ideas, but they had nothing on their walls. Just as an example of, the unfinished home, they had all these ideas, but nothing to say for, because they are afraid to making decisions. They're afraid to spending or wasting money because it didn't work. So, but the planning goes hand in hand with the school. And I do talk a lot about what we have been talking, the planning, the budgeting, identifying your needs, your lifestyle, creating mood boards. I teach how to use a special program that is free. So all of the things that I use 3 tools, Room Sketcher, Excel, and Canva, and they are all free. So I teach them how to use that and how to plan according to that. I am a proponent of shopping parallel and window shopping parallel, meaning I'm not going to buy this first and then that's going to dictate what I buy next. So it's kind of a sort of parallel shopping where you know where you're going, and when you have that vision, let's go ahead and take that first step of shopping. But it is the process of getting to that vision that I teach in design school for homeowners.
I love it. I love it. And we'll get to that. I have one or two more questions before we wrap up this section. So we'll make sure that we link up to that so people can learn more. So obviously you've given a lot of great advice on how to approach like a full room renovation, right? If you were going to be like, I'm doing a big project, but what about just some simple tips for people that maybe just want to do a little bit of a refresh, like a little zhuzh of a space, right? We're not completely doing, a top to bottom reno, but we want to just give it like a little update. What are maybe some, and I'll leave it to you to say, like, whether it's, these are some categories of products, or these are some things, ways that you can do it without it really being like, I have to budget thousands and thousands of dollars and like save up or something.
Absolutely. So my recommendation is that from the beginning, you have what I call an evergreen room, an evergreen design. One that, evergreen plants, they will stay green throughout the seasons. Yep. So it's like having a room that stays ready to be refreshed or flexible to be refreshed anytime throughout the seasons. That is usually a canvas for the color. So if you are a person that loves changing through the seasons, the colors, refreshing, you definitely need an evergreen design. If you're not, if you're good with certain colors for a long period of time and you don't need to refresh, then don't even worry about what I'm going to say next. Okay, but if you are that person, and I am,
and you're speaking to me, and just so we know,
perfect,
you're speaking to me, like I am the person that, we live in the Northeast, so we have 4 seasons, and so it's like, it's fall, I want to whip out my fall decor and throw pillows and little accents, and in the summer I do the same, and then so you're speaking to me right now.
Awesome. So you want to have the main pieces that are evergreen, the pieces that will allow any color to come in.
Sure.
Now, where do we start? Or if we want to do a small refresh, then I would start with artwork, because it is prominent, because it becomes a focal point. I know that, some people may have original, big, expensive art. Then let's talk about them in a second. But if you don't, if you have, maybe prints or things that are less expensive, easy to change and interchange, then start there. Change the artwork, choose 2, maybe 3 colors from the artwork and integrate them into accessories, layers of accessories. Could be the pillow, it could be the lamp, it could be the small things that you have on your coffee table, but you find a way of integrating those colors and sprinkling them around the room with layers of accessories. If you want to go one step, above that, then you would change something like your drapes. If we're not doing
custom, I think that's even big. I feel like that's even, you can, that's bigger than me, but I'm like, for me, I'm just like, I'll change out like, oh, I have this on my bookshelf, these things, or like you said, this on my coffee table, or I'm going to switch out like a blanket, like a throw, or pillows, like little things just to kind of give it a slightly different feel for that.
Yeah, I guess it comes back to the level of refresh that you want to achieve, right?
Yes.
But start with the small things. Now, if I have artwork, let's just say, my wall is blue and I have blue and yellows in my walls, because of the prints and the artwork, and then I want to refresh and add green, where does this green stand in this blue and yellow room? So you might want to do a refresh that goes with what is more permanent. If you can change it, then great. Change for something that has the green that you want to integrate. If you can't change it, then find something that merges blue, yellow, and green together. So now you're pulling from your existing walls to the colors to then the smaller layers that you're integrating. Call it pillows, throws, vases, little boxes. So it's all about what you want to change, the amount or the level of refreshness that you want to do, and obviously budget.
Right. And again, I think it all comes back to the planning stage and the budget and how often, like, the practicality. And I see this a lot as a mom with my kids, and I've seen it with other clients where, like, oh, we're gonna, especially, I'm stereotyping, but like, especially for girls, as they're like going from like a little kid room to like a teen room, and you want to start, and they're like, I want to paint my walls bubblegum pink or purple. And it's like, okay, are you going to want that in a couple years, or should we do more of a neutral wall and then do a lot of like hot pink accents that we
Yes,
can switch out? So
yes,
those are the kind of
totally.
conversations that I think, a lot of times we're talking about. So how can we avoid going down this rabbit hole of like, oh my God, I just painted this room 2 years ago and now I'm already sick of it. And I want to, now I feel like I have to do it again and go back, because there is a lot of factors aside from budget when you go through renovation, and it does suck up time, energy, organizational space, all of that. So again, I think the more that you can plan and be strategic from the get-go, the easier it'll be, which I love.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the planning has to involve lifestyle. It has to involve the self-awareness. It has to involve budget and a timeline. If you leave one of these aside, you're going to miss the dance completely, because you have to integrate all four for it to work.
I love it. This has been such a great interview. I love it, love it, love it. Okay. Where can people go to find you, to learn more, maybe get involved with the design school, anything, follow you on social media, just all the things?
I have a few links for you. Design School for Homeowners can be found at designschoolforhomeowners.com. Easy as that. And I can be found on social media, which is where I'm most active, on Instagram at interiors_by_Jessica. So Interiors by Jessica. I'm active. I have a few series of how not to shop for furniture. I have other lives that I come up. I like doing reels, but it's where I'm mostly active for sure.
Right. And we will, again, of course, link to all things Jessica in our show notes, so you can find all her information there, as well as on our podcast page on our website. So not to worry, you can just go and connect up with her. We're going to take one more quick break, and then we are going to come back and just do our wrap up questions. So sit tight. This is such a fun conversation. I'm really excited to have everybody dive in, because really, I think it's a great way to empower people to make these changes and make it fun and less stressful. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, switching gears now. Are you a reader? Do you like to read?
I love to read.
Okay, good. So this is a question that we started asking guests a couple of years ago, because I love to learn from our guests. Not only about what it is that you do, but what interests you, what inspires you. And I think books are a great way for us to learn a little bit about people on a deeper level. So the first question that I always like to ask is there a book that you've read? It could be recent, it could be old, that has been inspirational or transformational in your life that you want to share with us?
Wow. That you got me thinking.
And it can be a couple. Sometimes people are like, I have a couple. That's fine too.
I have one. I'm a religious person, and I read from the Bible too, and other religious books. But when it comes to your casual reading, there's this book called Clockwork by Mike Mihaljevic.
Oh, I love Clockwork. Yeah, it's a great book.
There you go. So it's been really, really eye-opening for me, because it talks about the time that you spend on your business versus the time you spend on your life and you would probably know this, your queen bee role and all that. And I think it was really, really transformational for me to identify what is my queen bee role, both in business and in my day-to-day life, so I can really, really put priority on those things that are part of where I want to go.
Yeah, it is. And that's such a great book. And it's funny, I've talked about it in leadership with
Oh,
my SBO partners who I mentor, and talking about Clockwork, which is, again, helps you identify kind of what your sweet spot is, your queen bee role, and how to prioritize your time. But it is also something that you can apply in your personal life. Like, again, what is it that your special, gifts are? And so I love that. That's such a great book.
good, good.
Okay. And then our last two questions, which are super fun, is, again, we're all about authenticity here. So we know that, like you said, nobody's perfect. No home is perfect. No life is perfect. So in this season of your life, where do you feel that you are the most organized, and where do you feel like a little bit of a hot mess?
I feel mostly organized. You're talking like within my
It could be
home?
it could be your home, it could be professionally, it could be your car, it doesn't matter. It could be anywhere that you feel like, I really have this piece dialed in right now. I feel good about this. And this part of my life is a little bit off the rails. And again, you can be
Yes.
as serious or as lighthearted as you want it to be.
My closet is where I feel I'm organized. In fact, when my closet and my drawers are not organized, I know that my life is a little bit chaotic, because I realize, okay, I don't have the time to, I'm so sorry, but organize my clothes by colors.
Yeah.
And have my drawers, when I open those drawers, if I see them that they're just clothes are inside just because they're folded and need to go away, I know, okay, it's chaotic. I need to stop. So that is a part of me that I know, okay, that is organized. What is not organized? Oh boy, probably my car. You said car, and I'm like, yes, that's me. My husband would probably listen to this and go like, yeah, she's right. It's my car. I need to definitely clean it and just organize maintenance and all those things that come along with cars.
Yeah. Fair. I appreciate it. Well, Jessica, again, thank you so much for coming on our show. I think it's great any time of year, but specifically as we are approaching this holiday season and we are in other people's homes, we're in our own homes, we're entertaining, we're coming up again, like you said, with Black Friday and sales and all these things. And it's like, oh, I should buy this, I should be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a super timely episode. So thank you for that. And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. Make sure to click the subscribe or follow button, whether you're listening to us or watching us on YouTube. And we grow based on word of mouth. So if you have a friend, you just are new to our show, or if you're an OG listener, please share our shows with friends. If you love this episode, we would love for you to just let other people know that we're out there. You can feel free to leave us a review. We do read all of them, and we send out recaps in email for everybody. So if you're not already subscribed to getting our transcripts, you can also do that in our show notes. All the things in our show notes, right wherever you are listening or watching. So until next week, I'm Lori Palau. Peace out. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please spread the love and share it with your friends. And if this is your first time joining us, make sure to click the subscribe button wherever you are listening so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, please leave us a review so other people know that our show is worth the listen. You can also find us on YouTube and Instagram at This Organized Life Podcast. And if you'd like to connect with us, you can head on over to our website at simply the letter B like boy organized.com, which is filled with tons of resources, including free downloads, checklists, links to our amazing organizing partners, and all of our digital offerings. I'll see you next week for another episode of This Organized Life.